Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Nerds. Today's video is a little bit different to what we've put out previously. What we're going to do is we're going to go for a quick overview of some of the equipment that we use on our investigations. So most of the equipment that you see in front of you is stuff that we used in our investigations previously. The only thing that we haven't used quite yet is the light box, which is this one just down here, but we have tested it, but we haven't had a chance to use it on an investigation just yet. So with the equipment that's on the table at the moment, there's several parts of it. We've got your camera equipment, which is these two cameras here and this 360 one here. We've got our power supplies, which are these ones here. We've got our sensors, motion sensors here. We've got our Rem Pods, our go stop yes no prism, and our stuff to put together a portal box, K2 meter, and our dictaphone as well. So with the cameras, when we first started out, we picked up one of these. It's a Sony Handycam replica Chinese style camera with a night vision mode. That little bar there is for the IR LEDs. And it's not too bad. It's not the greatest of quality. It's pretty good for the price. I think it costs something like £50. And it records at 1920 by 1080. And once again, paired up with one of these lights here, which we'll go into further detail in a bit, the actual quality of the video at the night time is actually pretty good. The next camera that you see is an actual Sony camera. It's a Sony AX53. It's once again, it's got a IR night mode with the IRs there. It can record up to 4K quality, pretty decent frames as well, and it's got 5.1 surround, but we're going to disable that for future videos because it causes more problems than benefits. And we've got an aftermarket battery as well, because the Sony ones themselves are really quite expensive. But that's our main camera that we use when we're moving around buildings and locations. Next, we've got a Samsung Gear 360. It's a, as the name suggests, a 360 camera with just like a 3D printed stand there, so that way it can stand quite comfortably. This is pretty good, quite a new addition. We've only used it once, and we caught something very, very interesting, which you'll probably see in the videos coming up. So using this camera, you get a fisheye lens video, but you get two perspectives of it, both the front and the back, and you have to splice them together in some software, and you can have a 360 view of where you was holding the actual camera itself. Really quite an interesting piece of equipment. Picked it up off of eBay for quite cheap, and it has proven its worth straight away, which you'll see in some future videos. So in addition to those three cameras that we have there, we've also got our static cameras, which I'll just bring in now, which are cameras that we've made ourselves, and all they are a small action cam with the IR lens removed, and a IR floodlight, which you can pick up off of Amazon, eBay for quite cheap, and a tripod mount, and just a few fittings to piece it all together. Now, this is powered by standard USB, this is powered by 12 volts. The light source from this is very, very bright. It goes across a room quite easily, but the 12 volts is the biggest sort of issue with this itself, so we need special power supplies to allow it to be powered by batteries. Now these are our two power sources that we've got at the moment. This is one that we purchased online, and this does normal USB, and it also does 12 volts as well. As you can see there, 12 volts USB, and then obviously the power in. On the back we've got Velcro, because we basically just Velcro it to the leg of the tripod. Now for our other battery pack, this is one that we made ourselves. It's got USB, USB-C and USB micro, and what this does is this allows us to be able to use the USB-C for up to 12 volts. So then that way this itself is much cheaper to make than this one is to buy, which is why we've made several of these ourselves, because it's more cost effective for us to do that ourselves. And once again, Velcro on the back. So going on to the traditional pieces of equipment, you've got your K2, standard device that most paranormal groups have. It detects differences in the EMF with electromagnetic fields, and as that changes, these lights will change up from green, yellow, orange, and onto red. The closer it is to red, the more of a fluctuation there is in the EMF field. Ours is modified ever so slightly, so then that way we've got a little speaker on there, so when it does actually go off, you can hear like a slight chirping, so that way you don't have to keep your eye on it all the time. Okay, next to that we've got our dictaphone. Nothing too much to say about this, just records audio, so that way we can look to capture EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, and we will run that on sessions and we will review it at the time and when we get back to our respective homes as well, so that way we can hear it with better conditions. So lights. So lights for our cameras, this one and that one in particular, we've got two different types. We've got two panel LED IR lights here, and we've got two sort of hot shoe mounted, kind of like floodlight IR lights is what they call themselves. Now, these two here, they're exactly the same. They're Andoas, and they are rechargeable via USB-C. You can turn them on just by literally spinning the wheel, and the further you spin the wheel, the more intense the light actually is. And these fully charged, they last up to about, I think it's 2 hours. So we've got several of these to cover us for the cameras. Next ones are the IR floodlights, similar sort of thing, hot shoe on the top as well, same as that one. And they've got two settings. They've got a half and a all, or basically a low and a high. Similar sort of light output, but in fairness, these ones seem to be much better. And the good thing about these is that you can charge them with USB-C whilst you're actually using them, so they can last for the entire night if necessary. Going on with lights, we've got a laser grid here. Now this is one that we picked up off of AliExpress. It's got a motor inside, and where it can move the dots and spread them around and so on and so forth, and it's got a pulse mode and all that stuff. We don't use that. We have this basically set. We stop the motor to the point where it has a good spread, and what we'll do is we'll set this up with one of the cameras, and we will leave it for a period of time, and we can review it afterwards. And you're supposed to be able to see shadows or movements cutting across the front of the laser grid. We haven't used it just yet, so I can't show you any videos or footage of it just yet, but undoubtedly you'll see it in the future. Okay, so next we've got our motion sensors. Now these are sensors that we've made ourselves. They are basically passive infrared, which is what this little globe is here. And if anything passes the beam, so the beam goes out roughly sort of like 45 degrees from the center. So you have an angle about there and an angle about there. And what happens after it calibrates, if something trips this, you'll hear an ear-piercing buzzer, and the LED goes off as well. Now these are great because you can just leave them, sort of like forget that they're actually there, and you can just sort of carry on your investigation. And if you hear it in the distance, because this alarm is actually very, very loud, then you can actually go and investigate what caused it to go off in the first place. This means that you don't have to be completely attentive to this or this one, obviously a different color. So you can actually just leave them and carry on your investigation elsewhere. So the next one we have is the really popular Rem Pods. Now these are ones that we've made ourselves. As you could probably, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's got our name also in the top. Now we've created these because these are much cheaper to manufacture ourselves, and we know exactly what's inside them, so we know that whatever responses we get are hopefully legitimate. We know that there's no shenanigans going on inside there. I'm not saying that there's any shenanigans going on with anything else. However, we know for a fact that this is one that we've built ourselves, and we know what's inside it. Now, as you've seen the Rem Pod before, let me just extend this area. We just turn it on. There we go. And it's got a temperature sensor on the top there. That's a display for the temperature sensor. That's the temperature sensor itself. You've got your 4 LEDs, and you've got your antenna. And underneath that little perforated area there is where the actual sort of speaker is situated, so then that way you can hear it through the top of the case. Now, these work like a theremin. Theremin is an old instrument that uses 2 antennas, one on the top generally speaking, and one on the side. Now, the one on the top would be for the pitch and the tone, and the one on the side would be for the volume. In this case, we've got no necessity for the volume, so we've just stuck with the single antenna. Now, when you put your finger close to it, you can see that it starts to go off. Now, if you bring your finger to the side, on this side, there's not really anything there. If you go near the battery, there's something there. And also on that side as well, there's a small amount there as well. So basically, the closer you get to the antenna, the tone and the lights change. So the closer you get, the more lights you get and the higher pitch the tone becomes. So we can leave these somewhere on an investigation, and we can also use them whilst we're calling out. These things are quite versatile, and what is supposed to happen is, as a spirit, ghost, ghoul, or whatever you wish to call them, go towards that, it causes this to go off. Now, next thing that we got on the list is the Ghost Stop Yes No Prism. Now this is a piece of equipment that we bought from Ghost Stop. I think it's ghoststop.com, and what it is they call it the Yes No Prism. Switch on the front, sensor there, 2 LEDs and a speaker. Rechargeable via USB-C, and what this does is, if I turn this on, you'll see it lights up blue, and what it does is it fires a laser over here into the distance, and if that laser is interrupted in some way, shape or form, then it will cause it to sort of light up and make some tones. So if I go from the side, so as you can see, on that side the green light lights up. The closer you get, the higher pitch the tone is. Same goes for the other side, it is red. So this is why it's called the yes and the no. Now, what this also does is it tells you if there are changes in temperature. So you'll hear a high-pitched alarm if there is a change in temperature and these lights don't light up. But as it sits there, what the lights will do is they'll pulse back and forth with the blue color, I believe. And then as something trips it, sets the alarm off, and the lights hold for, I think it's 10 to 20 seconds. So as you can see, both the lights are flashing blue at the moment. But if we do that one, holds the red light. Now, this is a really good bit of kit. We need to properly have a go at this at the next investigation, because last time we used it as a trigger object on one of the more important areas within the building that we was looking at. So let me just turn this off. Now with this, you can change the range of it. So we like it on the shortest range because it's the most sensitive, but you can change the range to a couple of feet either side, and then that way the tone is a little bit slower, but you get a wider range covered. So we use an SB7, we don't have that with us here at the moment, but when we use the SB7, we sometimes use it with this portal box. It's called a portal box, but what it actually is a small speaker with an amplifier and 2 pedals. You can use just one pedal, but in our case, we decided to get both of them. Now, these are guitar pedals, so they're quite easy to get hold of, quite cheap, and one of them is basically to cut out the white noise, which is this one here, and you can adjust that with that knob just there. And then this one adds reverb, so then that way it repeats and echoes, so then that way you get a chance to hear whatever's said a second, third, maybe even 4th time round to see if you can understand it even better. We rarely use this because we like to use the Spirit Box just as it is, but we will start to use it more often. Now finally, with the stuff that you see on the table, we've got this box here. Now this is something, once again, we built ourselves, and what it is it's based on the Octolively board, and what it is people call it a shadow tracker or movement sensor, whatever you want to call it. But basically, as you go past it, you trigger individual sensors, like so. And if anything passes in front of that and triggers the sensor, just like that did, for example, I think I got that too close to the camera, then it causes it to trigger like that. Now, this is fantastic because once again, you can leave it in a room, have a camera on it and watch it, or you can have it with you and then you can use it as like a trigger object. So then that way, if you say, please come and set off the lights, like so, and you'll be able to use it in several different ways. This is powered by lithium-ion batteries, and once again, it's rechargeable via USB-C. So that's all the equipment on the table explained. What we'll do now is we'll get out the Sls Camera. So a couple of other things to add in. So cat ball, small plastic ball with a little bell inside. Hopefully if that gets knocked, you'll be able to hear it. We've got a second type of cat ball here, which is done by vibration. So as vibration is detected, it sets it off and it causes the lights to go off, so it should be quite visually easy to see. And then something super simple, bells on a little bit of string. So we can hang these up, and as something walks past it, you can quite audibly hear that. So those are 3 cheap sort of little options that you could use to sort of add more trigger objects within your paranormal equipment. Now, in addition to that, we also have our SLS camera. Now, this is referred to as a structured light sensor, I believe, stickman sensor, and it's been referred to as several different things. This is one we've built ourselves. This is one of the very first ones, so the cables are quite tightly bunched up and they've not been sort of shortened down or anything like that. But what it does is it uses an Xbox 360 sensor, Connect sensor, and then a Windows tablet. Now we use Windows 7 because Windows 7 is a better performing operating system for the SLS itself. And we don't have any footage to show you at the moment, but what this does is it scans the area. We're using one of these sensors on here, which basically sprays an IR sort of screen. And if anything in there that we can't see with our naked eye is detected, it will try and map it into a stick figure. So if it detects something, you'll see it on the screen. Now with this, it can be known to sort of falsely give you like little stick men. It can sometimes pick up tripods, chairs, random bits of furniture around the place that you're looking at. And what you can do is you look at it, sweep off, sweep back on again, and you can try and make it so that way it re-recognizes the fact that it's not actually something that is physical in the world, such as a piece of furniture or something like that. Now, this piece of equipment is really good. We've got a power supply on the bottom here. You can either power it via AA's, or you can use one of the power supplies that we've created ourselves. And we will hopefully be using this more and more often in our future investigations. So that's the end of the video. That's all of our equipment that we use at the moment. We do have some more equipment, but we don't have that here with us at this point in time. Some of the other investigators have their equipment at their house. So we've got some dowsing rods. We've got our, as I said, the SB7 spirit box. We've got our boards that we use for our board sessions, as you've seen in the previous videos, and a few other little knickknacks of equipment that we use here and there. We've also got a Rem there, which is similar to the Rem Pod, but it's just inside a bear. But the difference is that there's no temperature sensor on there. And we hope to put all of these to good use, so then that way we can provide some compelling evidence of the paranormal. Once again, thank you very much for watching the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the comment section below. If you've got any suggestions of stuff that we can look at making ourselves, we've got a couple of ideas already, or other pieces of equipment that you want us to look at adding to our equipment set, then once again, please feel free to add that to the comment section. Thank you very much for watching.